This is AC 428 Frua Fastback, one of the most exotic cars you could have at the end of the 60s and beginning of the 70s. It has a huge 7-liter American V8 under the bonnet. It was designed in Italy and built in UK by the very same company that made the legendary AC Corba. Today we are going to discover the intriguing story and engineering of the AC 428 Frua Fastback and explore this car near me. Because I am Toma and you are watching Timeless Driving.
In the middle of the 1960s, the idea of putting an American powerful engine in a car with a European design was gaining ground, especially for smaller manufacturers that could save some costs by buying an American engine instead of developing one. The British company AC Cars had its own engine in the 50s for its first model, the Ace, but when Carroll Shelby approached AC and proposed to use the Ford V8 engine, and when that idea materialized into the renowned AC Corba, launched in 1962, it made such a great impact for AC's image that there was no turning back for them from adopting American engines. Still, sales for the legendary AC Corba were not that high, and Derek Harlock, AC's boss, understood that AC Corba was about to become outdated on the market, so he started thinking of a new model that would go a bit more upscale and that would feel more mature. He wanted a GT, and he figured out that an Italian design, a proven British chassis and an American V8 would make the best recipe. So in March 1965, he went to Geneva Motor Show to speak directly to designers, trying to convince the greatest of them to accept designing the new car for his company. Bertoni and Ghia turned down on Harlock, citing a high workload. So Harlock got in touch with the Italian designer Peter Frua through the Swiss distributor of AC Cars. At that time, Frua was at the beginning of his glory period, having made designs for Maserati and Glass, the manufacturer that was later bought by BMW.
Derek Harlock has finally managed to convince Pietro Frua to accept the job.
Frua started to work with lightning speed on the car. In May 1965, Harlock sent an AC Corba chassis to Frua in Italy, which was stretched by 6 inches or 15 centimeters to create the open-top Grand Tourer presented in 1965.
Yes, this car is actually created on the same chassis as AC Corba.
The new AC Frua made its public appearance in October 1965 at AC Corba Motor Show and had more than a slight resemblance to the Maserati Mistral, but that was not because of Frua's lack of inspiration. It was done on purpose, since Harlock wanted something similar but with a wider stance to suggest a more powerful appearance. And since Frua was the one who designed the Mistral for Maserati, it wasn't a hard thing to do, creating the new GT inspired by the Italian creation. Still, there were legends circulating during the history that the two models could even interchange body panels between them. That was not true. Dimensions and proportions were different, and Frua was later quoted to say that this AC model was perhaps his favorite creation. In March 1966, the fixed-roof fastback version was launched at Geneva Motor Show.
With such an appearance, it could challenge the greatest Grand Tourers of its time, promising an even tastier delivery of the power.
It conquered the hearts and minds of journalists even more after first test drives. The long wheelbase made the car feel in a different, much more comfortable way than the short AC Corba. And it was capable to amaze right from the start, some journalists even describing it as one of the most delightful cars of that era. It was available with a manual 4-speed transmission, but also with a 3-speed automatic that eventually gained the largest part of the sales.
It was surprisingly light, given the size of the car and the size of the engine. It weighed only about 1,415 kilos.
The engine was mounted way back into the chassis to achieve a 47 to 53 weight balance with more weight on the rear axle.
At first, these cars had the same V8 engine powering the Corba and created with Carroll Shelby. But only after a few units built, AC changed its option for a more conventional standard V8 straight out of the factory with a 7-liter displacement and 345 horsepower.
With such a warm welcome on the market, order books started to fill out at AC despite the fact that this model had a hefty price back then. At launch, it cost £4,610 for the convertible and £4,850 for the fastback, being more expensive than the Jaguar E-Type, than Jensen Interceptor, and even than Aston Martin DB6. The huge price was a result of a logistic nightmare in production. The chassis were sent to Frua in Turin, Italy, who was building the bodywork and fitting it with the chassis while also pre-assembling the main parts of the interior. Then the partially completed cars would return to Surrey in UK to have the wiring installed, the body paint done, and the final bits of the interior assembled. All that meant long delays in deliveries that made clients unhappy. On a few occasions, AC managed to assemble 2 cars per week, but more often, even a pace of 1 car per week was difficult to keep. Additional strikes in Italy in the steel industry in the 1969 and 1970 caused even more delays. Then in 1973 the oil crisis came, and besides that, new safety rules meant that AC needed to crash test its models if sales were to continue. And those sales were too low to justify the cost, so Harlock decided to stop the production in July 1973. But AC 428 Frua Fastback, with its gorgeous engine, continued to amaze and to get praise until his very last day of the career. The renowned journalist and former racing driver John Bolster wrote that he managed to achieve an acceleration time from 0 to 60 miles per hour of only 5.4 seconds, thanks to his skills and to car's power. And he also reached a top speed of 145 miles per hour or 233 kilometers per hour with this AC Frua.
Let's have a look at this legendary huge V8 engine.
This car owes its name to this engine actually. In the AC 428 Frua Fastback, the number 428 comes from the 428 cubic inches of displacement of this Ford engine, which translates to 7.0 liters.
Only 49 AC 428 Frua Fastback have been built during the entire lifetime of the model. Some say 51 since they count 2 of the 3 special bodies, but with around 50 ever produced, it is one of the rarest cars in the world. Let's have a look inside this extremely rare AC 428 Frua Fastback. This interior is a definition of exotic opulence. Look at this all-leather ambience with a lot of chrome.
I love this dashboard. 1, 2, 3, 6, 8 dials in the front of the driver by the steering wheel.
Look at this automatic transmission lever and all the switches here.
Yes, gearbox lever is U-shaped and it is huge, and with all the switches from the dashboard, with so many dials, it inevitably gives you the feeling of being an airplane pilot here, maybe even a jet pilot. Rear couch is more of a decor here, but theoretically someone can try to sit here since it is a 2+2 GT. But all in all, I consider this interior one of the most sublime in any car from this period. It really amazes, and even today it overwhelms and steals you back in time in that period when this car used to be produced. Few cars have such a strong character to do that, but this one does for sure.
The big moment is here. Let us start this immense Ford V8 engines that was meant to compete with the Italian V12s. Wow!
Isn't that one of the best sounding engines we had on timeless driving until now? As rare as this car is, I was lucky to catch a rare of a sunny autumn-winterish day in Switzerland, so I went straight outside to drive this AC Frua.
The first impression, this engine is so big and so wide that there is not enough space for pedals, so they are pushed in the corner, pointing to the wheel. I have a huge bonnet in front of me and you must steer accordingly. And of course I have a beast under the bonnet and it is being heard always. What an engine sound! Wow, my god! It is the sound of a 7-liter Ford V8. It is an automatic gearbox, 3-speed only, and when you put reverse in this gearbox, you actually feel it quite a lot. Wow, that was coupling the reverse. And I don't have a seat belt because there aren't any in this car. I like the cockpit here and the abundance of these dials. I feel like in an aeroplane. It is a huge car, but it is surprisingly nimble.
And it is surprisingly comfortable too. Driving it like a GT on a long distance continental trip? No problem. I can almost portray myself driving from Swiss Alps to Italian or French Riviera on a matter of a few hours, presuming all that entourage of the 60s and 70s around me. By the way, the AC Frua I am driving today in Switzerland and was kindly offered to me by oldtimer gallery Toffen is a 1969 one. It went through a restoration in 1996, being repainted in its original color, and then in 2018 it benefited from a mechanical restoration.
It is one of those cars that thrills its driver. It is such an exotic combination that today it is hard to believe that there were times when such a car was even possible. So we have American V8, Italian design and British overall engineering. Let's push it. Wow! My god, it is actually powerful. It is powerful even after 16 something years.
It is one of those gorgeous classics that remain deep in your heart after you drive them. There are rare cars that not necessarily give you the thrill of some unique driving emotions, and you can appreciate them for their engineering, their history, or just for how rare they are. Here, all those reasons to adore this car are in place, with only 49 AC 428 Frua Fastbacks having ever been produced, with all its devious history and its eccentric engineering. But when you drive it, the emotions behind the steering wheel are so overwhelming that it amplifies tenfold every reason to love this classic model. It feels wildly powerful but unexpectedly easy to contain. It grabs you as a time machine in its era, but it surprises not only with a nostalgic touch, but rather with a timeless spirit of true passion for driving a high-performance car. And the most beautiful part is that even today, it feels like a hugely powerful car. What a car! What a jewel! What a piece of history!